All right, this is the warm-up for today. So if you look at the first one, they're asking you to do f divided by g of x. So I'm just going to write this underneath here. That would be my f, which is x squared plus 4x plus 3. And divided by g of x is x plus 1. So you do need to check factors of 3 that add up to 4 would be x plus 1 and x plus 3 over x plus 1. So then these x plus 1s would cancel. And so my answer would be x plus 3, where x cannot equal a negative 1. Okay, so then I go down here and I match it, and that's definitely a line. And so the only line I see down here is, so I would match this and say this is equation A. You have to have where the x doesn't equal a negative 1 or it won't work. So now if I look at the next question, now it's g divided by f. So it's basically the one that I just did, except now instead of being the x squared is on the top, now it's the x plus 1 on the top, and then x squared plus 4x plus 3 on the bottom. So I'm going to have the same issue. I'd have x plus 1 over x plus 1 times x plus 3. So my x plus 1s would cancel. So my answer would be 1 divided by x plus 1. And you have to have this part where x can't equal a negative 1 or a negative 3. So if you think about that, this answer that we have right here, we've never graphed anything like that. If I look at this first equation, it's a parabola. We've never graphed anything like that, so I'm going to assume this is B. Okay, my next question wants me to do f plus g of x. So I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to do f plus g of x. So if I look at my f, it's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 3 plus x plus 1. So my final answer would be x squared plus 5x plus 4. And if I look at that, my y-intercept is 4. So if I come down here to these equations, my y-intercept 1, 2, 3, 4. That one hits at 4. This one hits at 2, so that's not it. This one hits at 2, and this one hits at 2. So all the rest of them hit. This is the only one that hits at 4. So this must be C, and my domain is a negative infinity to infinity. And if I look here, it looks like my axis of symmetry is right in the middle at 2.5. So if I put 5 halves into this equation, because that's 2.5, 5 halves squared is 25 fourths plus 25 halves plus 4. And you would have your calculator. I just didn't bring my calculator into this little room. So 50 fourths, so that's 75 fourths. I don't even know. Wait, that's a negative. So this is a negative. So that would be a negative 25 fourths plus 16 fourths. So that would be a negative 11 fourths. So my range would be a negative 11 fourths to infinity because it's opening up. And you would have your calculator on that. I just don't have one in here with me. I didn't even bring my phone in, so... All right, the next one is f minus g of x. So I would do my f of x. So, oops. So I do my f, so plus 4x plus 3, and then I'm minusing g. So I'm minusing this entire thing. So that would mean I'd have x squared, and then I'd have plus 3x, and it would be plus 2. So if I look at that, this has a y-intercept of 2. This has a y-intercept of 2, and this has a y-intercept of 2. So I'm going to have to do something more. I do believe this one is factorable. Wouldn't this be x plus 1 and x plus 2? Which means it would hit at a negative 1 and a negative 2. So matching, I need the one that, oh, it's this one down here in the middle. This is the only one that hits at a negative 1 and a negative 2. And it doesn't ask for the domain and the range. So remember I said this is what your test is going to be similar to. It doesn't ask for the domain and the range. So on the next one, it's asking me to put, I don't know why it zoomed way in there. It's asking me to put h of x inside g of x. So I'm going to put that inside of here. So that's going to be x squared plus 1. And then you're doing plus 1. So that's x squared plus 2. So if I look at that, that's saying I have a parabola that's moved straight up 2. Well, that would be this one down here, because the other one's been moved a little bit sideways, okay? And so then my last one is asking me to do g of x inside h of x. So then that's x plus 1 parentheses squared and then plus 1. So if I look at that, that's saying that I want you to go left 1 and up 1. So that's this one right here. And I would accept that as an answer, x plus 1 squared plus 1. But I know when we did this warm up the other day, some of you multiplied that out. So you have x squared plus 2x plus 1 plus 1. So then that would be x squared plus 2x plus 2. And I would accept either answer. It doesn't say what form it has to be in. So my equation, this would be f. My domain is a negative infinity to infinity. And my range is 1 to infinity. So those are my answers there. It's kind of a mess. So take a picture of it if you need to, double check things. But this is what you would have for answers. Okay. So on my next one, if it makes it a little easier, you're going to multiply. So this would really be, I'm going to write this over the top, the square root of x. So wouldn't I multiply this by the square root of x? So I end up with x cubed root x over x. Well, that x cancels with that, so I'd have x squared root x. Now I would take off for this because my original question wasn't exponential, so the final answer needs to be an exponential. And this is all I can do with this. Okay. Now, some kids will want to put that together, so wouldn't that be... I just noticed that, sorry. So 2 plus 1/2 is 2 1/2, so that would be 5 halves. That's what I would want in my exponential form. Okay, now I could have done that, and we had that conversation yesterday. I don't know if both of you heard that, but both classes were like, well, how do you do it? Could I have done that from here and just subtracted? 3 minus 1/2 is 2 1/2, which is 5 halves. And so then I could have done that from there. So take a look at that. I'm going to erase because this thing is going to get just too full of crap. And so if you need to, pause and take a look at that, but I'm going to erase after each one. Okay, on the next one, it's the cubed root. So I've got to get rid of that by taking it times the cube root of c squared. So, because then that would be the cube root of c cubed, which would just be c over c to the 5th cubed root of c squared. Well, the c's out in front. Yeah, I don't know why that's doing that. The c's out in front would cancel. So your final answer would be c to the 4th and then the cubed root of c squared. That would be my final answer, and I would be okay with it written in that form because it was given to me in radical form. So take a picture. I'm going to erase because it's going to get too overwhelming if I don't. All right, so on the next one, I need to simplify this. These are all, it's a square root, so I've got to think about perfect squares. So I could rewrite this as 9 times 3 because 9 is a perfect square. I could rewrite this as x squared times x because x squared is a perfect square. And then y to the 10th is a perfect square. It already was, and it's even and even coming out odd. So your answer would be 3x and then the absolute value of y to the 5th because that's even and even coming out odd. And then everything that you didn't circle would still be left inside. So that was your answer on 3. Okay, look at it, pause it, whatever you need to do. All right, so the next one. This is cube root, so I need to think of perfect cubes. So the cube root of 81 would be 27 times 3. And then the 27 is a perfect cube. And then this would be x to the 9th times x, because that's a perfect cube. And you can't do anything. Oh, why wouldn't I? Let's do this. I didn't even notice this till I started doing the problem. Don't I have 2 x's? So let's put those puppies together. 81, x to the 12th, y to the 5th. Now let's do this problem. I didn't notice that. So now I would say, okay, 27 times 3, because 27 is a perfect cube. That is, x to the 12th is a perfect cube. And then this would be y to the 3rd, y squared, because that's a perfect cube. So my answer would be 3 x to the fourth, y, and then it would be the cube root, sorry, I forgot that over here, the cube root of 3y squared. That would be my answer. I would be done. Now understand, I don't even have to worry about absolute values on this question because it was a cube root as an index. Okay, so if I look at the next one, okay, this is exponential form. You're multiplying, so can't I just add my exponents? So up here, I'm going to do 2/5 plus 3/4. My common denominator would be 20, so this would be 8/20 plus 15/20. So add that together and it's 23/20. And I'm done. I can leave it like that because the original problem was given to me in exponential form. So I'll leave it in exponential form. Okay, on the next one, I'm square rooting it. So, and it was given to me in exponential form. So the square root of 16 is 4, and this would be s to the 7/2, y to the 7th. You are actually done with this. You don't have to do anything else because it was given to you in exponential form. Okay. All right, solving this. So if I solve this one, I would minus the 5, that's 10, divide by 2, and that's 5. So I square both sides and I'd have x minus 3 equals 25. So my answer is 28. You must take this answer and you must put it back up here because it was a square root and you must check to see that it works. So that would be 28 minus 3 plus 5. So that's 25. The square root of that is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 5 is 15, which is what I started with. So 28 is my correct answer. It is not extraneous. Okay, so on the next one, there's a couple ways of doing this one. If you square both sides, which is totally cool, you're squaring that too as well. So you're saying 4 times x plus 1, okay, equals, that would become x squared plus 2x, and 2x is 4x plus 4. So I'd have 4x plus 4 equals x squared plus 4x plus 4. So now I need to get everything on one side because it's squared. So I would minus 4x, and so I would minus 4, and so I end up getting 0 equals x squared, so x would equal 0. All right, so now let's think about this because some people are like, well, that doesn't work. Okay, we'll put it back in here. So if I put that in there, 2 times the square root of 0 plus 1, does that equal 0 plus 2? So the square root of 1 is 1 times 2 is 2, 0 plus 2. Okay, 0 works. That is the correct answer. It is not extraneous. My answer is 0. All right, and then on this next one, I would add my 3, or sorry, I'd add my 2, and I get the square root of 2x plus 9 equals 7. I would square both sides, so 2x plus 9 equals 49. And then I would minus 9, so 2x equals 40, and x equals 20. Now, it is a square root to start with, so you must check it. So if I put 20 in there, that would be 40 plus 9 is 49, minus 2. So that's 7 minus 2, which is 5, which is what I started with. So this one, the answer is 20. It is not extraneous. And then this last one, I don't even have to check for extraneous because this is to the 1/3. So I'm going to add the 6 and divide by 3. Add the 6, divide by 3 is 2. And so then how do I get rid of cube rooting something? I'm going to cube it. So I get 3x minus 1 equals 8. I'm going to add the 1 and get 9 and divide by 3 and get 3. And I don't even have to check it. All right, last ones. Okay, so on these last ones, graph the following equations, show exact coordinates of points, find the equation of both the inverse and sketch, do the domain and the range of both. So x plus 4 is going left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, down 2. And it has a regular old over 1 up 1, over 2 up 4 equation. So my domain is a negative infinity to infinity, and my range is a -2 to infinity. Okay, so now when I do this, my domain and range will flip. -2 to infinity and negative infinity to infinity. It started as a parabola, so when I flip it, it's going to be -2, -4, -3, -1, so -1, -3, and then I get -2, so it'd be 2, -2 in here. So my equation is going to look like this, which is not, so this is a typo. You cannot have f prime of x. Sorry, you better change it to a y because it can't be a function. So that is a typo. But let's figure out what this equation is. So I'm going to flip my x and my y. So I'm going to add the 2. And then I'm going to square root. And then I'm going to subtract the 4. So my equation would be plus or minus the square root of x plus 2, and then it would be -4. And so that is not a function because it has to have both sides, and it doesn't pass that vertical line test that we talked about. So here is the warm-up.